Is this thing on?
Hi, everybody. It's Anton from ComicCon.com. I am excited to be here today. We are talking about one of my absolute favorite publications in the world, The Young Adventurer's Guide from 10 Speed Press. This book
Hey,
is phenomenal.
we got one too.
You
Perfect.
guys got one too. And who are you? Oh my gosh. I am in the room today with Jim Zub, Stacy King, and Andrew Wheeler, three of honestly the most talented people in the D&D space. And I'll put my name on that. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today.
It's our pleasure. It's a joy.
This coming together has been almost 2 years in the making. The people who follow our gaming content over at ComicCon.com, they know that I have been putting the Young Adventurers guides in our gift guides for gamers year after year. I have librarians, I have parents, I have adults who have young ones in their sway reaching out to me all the time asking, hey, I want to get my kids into the hobby. Hey, I want to get my students into the hobby. I have people in LA calling me at unreasonable hours when I'm in bed, and it's totally fine. Reach out to me whenever. And they're calling me and they're saying, hey, I'm trying to start a library group. Where should I get started? And every single time I am telling them that these Young Adventurers guides, this is the new one. The slipcases, they'll pop up here. Ding. They're in my shelf right there. They're fantastic as well. But we have a new one coming out on November 4th. And this is so much fun. How did you guys get to the point where you were like, hey, let's bring some young ones into the hobby, because these are perfect guides for that. Where was sort of the seed for this planted?
The genesis for this, I guess I can talk about that first, and then obviously Stacy and Andrew can bring in even more of their expertise as well. So I've been doing work officially with Dungeons and Dragons since 5th edition launched. I started working officially on the brand in 2014 as 5th edition was ramping up and to be released. And so I started doing the comics officially for IDW, the Baldur's Gate Heroes, as we call them, a new series of heroes that mixed with characters from the old video games that launched alongside 5th edition D&D. After a couple years of that, the person who was in charge of narrative at the time over at Wizards, he was reading my scripts and providing feedback and approvals. He could tell how much of a gigantic D&D nerd I was and how much I love all the original stuff. And so I started to get brought more and more on board directly with Wizards and D&D and started doing consulting with them. For most of the major source books that they were putting together, they would have something called a creative consultant. So they would bring someone actually into the office and they would work and help brainstorm new ideas or bringing old material in. And the book that I ended up directly consulting on was called Descent into Avernus, which obviously ties into Baldur's Gate and things like that. The great thing about that book was that that was the book that was in development as Larian signed the license to do Baldur's Gate 3, which is why so much of the content that we whiteboarded on those meetings ended up finding its way into the video game, which is mind-blowing to me. While I was at the office there, we were, hanging out, particularly Chris Perkins, Jeremy Crawford, and Adam Lee and I, we would do these brainstorming sessions during the day, and then we'd go out in the evening. And one of those evenings, the conversation came up, how did you start playing D&D? And that was talking all about being 8 years old, playing with my older brother and cousins, and the unique qualities that the game had that really grabbed me on a creative level. The artwork and the narrative and all those different kinds of things. What I didn't realize was by telling that story, I'd planted the seeds for what these books would become. About 6 or 7 months later, Adam Lee got in touch with me again and said that they were looking at trying to put together something for kind of that perfect age category, 8 to 12 year olds, to introduce them to the precepts of role-playing games and what D&D was all about. And he thought that the stories I told them were really compelling and that they could use some of that information. And what he didn't anticipate was I was just going to basically grab the steering wheel on that thing and say, I don't just want to consult for a couple hours. I think I know exactly what this thing should be. And he and I, and then eventually I brought in Stacy and Andrew, we put together the concept for what became the Young Adventurers Guides, these narrative first visual guidebooks to the worlds and the concepts and the heroes and the monsters that make D&D so special. And so it's been, we've been working on them since, late 2018, early 2019. and there was no way I could have done it by myself. And Stacy and Andrew have stepped up and brought their own, experiences and all of our kind of enthusiasm to make these books what they are.
I love that, man. I remember being very young and thinking I invented D&D. I would use action figures and like dice from board games and kind of come up with a narrative play because the I have force field breaking bullets. Oh, well, I have
Right?
anti. You needed some kind of rule set, and in our industriousness, we thought like, hey, this could be a way to do it. And then my mind was blown when I finally went into a comic shop and saw Riff's Palladium books. I think was the first
Yep.
I actually got my
Nice.
hands on. But then the Magic Encyclopedia, which I still have my original 4 set, or Encyclopedia Magic, I still have my original 4 set on the shelf. And that to me was like opening that world. And this, the work that you guys do on these young adventurers guides, and I mean, the testimony you just provided is exactly how I feel about these books. And I think why they open the world so much to nostalgia based players like myself,
Hmm.
people who are coming into the hobby, kind of new to the hobby and transitioning from the video game space, or they've watched their favorite streamers, or they really like just the Hellfire Club stuff that they see at Hot Topic, whatever it may be. I feel like these are a little more, and I mean, this is coming from a person who has literally hundreds upon hundreds of D&D books on my shelf. Uh,
Right.
I still think these are the best introduction on the market right now, because it's a way that you can really easily pick this up and kind of come into the hobby with a really firm understanding of like what all of these terms are, what all of these things mean. And I absolutely love that you brought the crew with you because what a talented crew it was.
Well, and that's the thing. I think that, D&D itself is all about, players and dungeon masters coming together. It's not about any one single person.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, for me, part of the inspiration was I started playing D&D when I was 10 in a school-related group, and then promptly, like, once I got really hooked, we moved, and I was in a new area where nobody except my younger brother knew anything about D&D, and trying to get other kids interested, they would look at those rule books, and they'd be like, oh, this is math. I hate math. They would be flummoxed by the charts and the tables, and those things became a barrier, and they couldn't see kind of the story and the characters and the adventure that was waiting right there if they could just kind of push back that past that. And so part of what these books are about is saying, no, don't worry about the rules yet. You are going to have to eventually because it is a game and you need
Right.
those rules for that structure. But first off, let's focus on what is this world, and more importantly, what can you do with this
Hmm.
world, right? And I think
Stacy.
Andrew can talk even more to that because I think a lot of the structure in the books where we really focus on talking directly to the readers
Yep.
about how they can bring this to life at their own table
Yeah.
comes from a lot of the contributions Andrew brought in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, from my point of view, I was the rookie member of the team. I was the one with the least D&D experience, and that's actually, I think, was useful in writing a book aimed at introducing people to the game. So I could bring that perspective. So yeah, 2018, are we saying? My goodness.
Yeah, I know.
And at that point,
It's crazy, right?
at that point, the only game I'd ever been in was Jim's game. He was the only DM I'd ever had. But now I've been running my own game for the last several years, and I have played through Baldur's Gate, and like I am deep into it now, and I'm part of the local D&D like pickup game scene. Like
Love that.
my life has changed over the course of creating these books. I'm not the rookie anymore, and I'm not. I couldn't be the person that introduces people anymore because I know too much now. Thankfully, I have a terrible memory for rules and numbers, so I'm all about the fun story stuff, the colorful animals, creatures, monsters, and that was the hookiest stuff. That's the stuff that these books are all about. Is like, well, let's snag you on the color and the vibrancy,
And the
and
choices. Yeah.
we'll worry about the dice later.
Well, and that's the reality is almost everyone is going to start playing D&D, especially nowadays, with someone who already knows the rules. They'll tell you roll this die, a high
Yeah,
roll is better, add these numbers to it. That's not the stuff that is as exciting as you being able to make choices and someone looking at you and saying, what do you want to do? And that the choices you make are going to matter to the overall narrative. And so we wanted to empower people. And I think the most complimentary thing that we've gotten about the books is that, yes, ostensibly they're called the Young Adventurers Guides and they're for new, younger players, but these get handed to adults all the time and they find them just as welcoming and just as interesting because it simplifies and codifies. Here are the choices you're going to get to make. Here's the type of stories we're going to be telling together, and it's going to be a ton of fun.
I think, I mean, you've hit on something so perfectly there. So my mother-in-laws were like, hey, we want to try this thing that you seem to really love, like, so much. And now they've played consistently every month for 2 years. And these are sort of the things that I'm able to hand off to them, because
Yep.
there's lore pieces where one of my mother-in-laws is listening to a lot of Salvador's work. And so it's Dritz and Wolfgar, and, you know, she's trying to figure out Jarlaxle. And so she'll ask
Right.
questions and I'm able to just be like, hey, check these out, because there's
Right.
cool little lore bits in here that you can pick up. And there's deep cuts too. Like, I think you guys put the Helm of Dread in here. As somebody who's a
Yep.
Warduke fan and has been since I have one tattoo and it's literally the Warduke.
That's so awesome.
Like,
See, this
I
is
am
the thing. I don't think you have to, just because it's an introductory thing, I don't think it has to be talking down to people. I think it's
100%.
simplified. I think it's focused in its information, but we always wanted to make it narrative first and interesting. And then the fact that there's so much lore and there's so many amazing places and NPCs, and you know, the game has 50 years worth of legacy, that you can pepper some of those things in there and as well, because those are the kind of stuff that's going to take root and people can go down those rabbit holes and realize that it's bottomless. You can go as deep as you want to go. You can find out, you know, an old module can spur on new ideas for adventure. Earlier editions and earlier stories, they're all there to be discovered. The artwork, I just, you know, it's so special to me, and to be able to unlock that in other people, I think is really, really precious. You know, bringing Andrew into our D&D group, and exactly what he was saying, that I'm so deeply wound into it that the inside baseball can kind of be a little brutal at times. It's just having someone else asking those questions, like saying, look, that's cool and all. Is this inviting? Is this all make sense? I think was one of the most valuable pieces of the puzzle.
I don't know what's a deep cut and what isn't. So everything was like same level of importance to me in like how I would approach it. So it's like, oh, great to know that some things are obscure and other things, like it was all the same to me.
Is it cool? That was really the thing for us. The rule of cool was
Exactly. Is it
if
cool?
I was a kid, would I find these magic items, potions, spells, character concepts, objects interesting? Would that grab me? That you can open the books at almost any page and it invites you to want to explore.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, one of the fantastic things that I think has really contributed to Dungeons and Dragons being such an enduring celebration of imagination is that there's so many different flavors of game that you can play with this one system. And so part of having those lore bits and those deep cut elements and being able to kind of sprinkle elements in from all across these different realms that have been developed is somebody might see the Warforged and that might inspire them to dig into Eberron because they want a little bit more of a sci-fi flair.
Yep.
And so that's really going to catch their eye. Other people might, you know, see a little bit about the Ravenloft and be like, oh, I like the spooky gothic. That's, you know, so helping to give people a flavoring of the incredible variety of game that you can play with this one system, and also kind of giving them hints of like, there's more to this that you can dig into as you figure out what you want your game to look like and the stories you want to be telling with your friends.
Absolutely. And every book that we put together, although we talk about the Forgotten Realms or Greyhawk or Ravenloft or Mystara or any of these other places, we're always emphasizing the fact that you can also create your own. That true D&D is about, you know, collaboration, coming up with your own ideas, coming up with your own adventures, coming up with your own characters and stories.
It's great that there are so many amazing digital tools out there for building NPCs and particularly building like maps and stuff, but it was really important for us to include the old school material
Yeah.
of like, you know, the symbols for how you build a dungeon interior and also terrain building and
Yeah.
so on. Because as a kid, that was such a delightful part, was the idea that I can make a whole world,
Yeah.
and all I need is like a pencil and some paper and this, you know, set of symbols that implies what I'm drawing here. And yeah, just the whole like unlocking people's own imagination and their confidence to say, it's okay, it's a game, it's play. This doesn't have to be perfect, but you have a thing inside of you that is completely unique to you. And this is a structure that can help you express, you know, part of that, and
Yeah.
learning to become more confident in expressing that. Hopefully, not just at the table, but through the rest of your life.
I love that. And Stacy, you've hit on so many beautiful points. I mean, the agency that you give a player or a creator or storyteller in this book, the map lexicon is amazing. It's one of the things that I call out in my review. It's one of the things I was calling out here today. Uh, there's such an empowering piece, because like for me, I couldn't go, you know, kick a ball or run around, but like at the table, it was the theater of the mind. And
Yeah.
earlier you spoke about traveling to new places as a kid, and like you would have to essentially get this whole new friend group, and D&D was kind of a door to that. You guys are providing this lexicon, that it's this language that the player can have, that gives them confidence in being able to speak on something that's communal, because it's not just like, oh, we know Dave from down the block. No, I've only lived here a week, I have no idea who Dave is, but I can tell you Mordekainen is. Oh, that's something we can connect on. That's amazing.
Right.
Like that, what you're providing with these books. You know, I often think back to D&D is the first time I ever felt like a person as a human, right? Which is wild to think I was playing like a half elf, and he was real. My first character, I'm sure, was like Dirk, the very emo. You know, everybody's first character is that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But I remember, you know, having that confidence to be able to sit at a table and just tell stories with your friends, and kind of everybody feels a little goofy, and then you get into the cadence of it, and it's, for me, it's literally been the freeing thing in my life. It's been the through line. So what you guys are doing personally, it's so important. Like you're giving a tool to kids who are in the same space that I was, to adults who maybe were in the same space that I am. And it's such a liberating thing. And it's so powerful that like, I can't stress enough how awesome these books are.
It seriously means the world to all of us. Like, and the feedback we get from parents, from kids, from librarians, from educators, from, you know, new dungeon masters, and from experienced ones who are trying to bring in their friends and family. Or we were just at a gaming convention last weekend, and the compliments we get from people when we tell people, oh, what have you worked on? And you say, oh, we did the young adventurers guides, and I start to describe them, go, oh man, I've got those, or oh, my nephew loves them, or oh, my nieces, they're the greatest thing ever. And I, without trying to sound too hyperbolic, like, I, it feels like the books will outlast us, like that they're going to carry on in a way that feels very, very special in that sense. And for me, Dungeons and Dragons unlocked a desire to want to interact with people and want to interact with stories rather than just passively view them or read them. And I would not be a writer or as creative without the game, without, you know, tabletop role playing games. And so bringing that to other people is the highest form of compliment, you know, the best thing that I could imagine that I could do. And so being able to do that with my friends and being able to collaborate and make something and then offer that up to people and welcome them into the hobby is, it's the best. There's no other words for it. And sometimes I struggle to describe it, how special it is. It's
Well, the Warriors and Wizards Compendium is going to be out on November 4th. I believe that's when it'll start hitting shelves. It is phenomenal.
thanks.
I think anybody who even has a passing interest in the hobby needs to add it to their shelf. It is truly an amazing piece of work. All of the young adventure guides that you guys have put together have been nothing short of amazing. I'm grateful for it. I know that there are a multitude out there who love having it at the table. I am so thankful for the time that you've given me today to sit down and talk about this. I can't wait to find out what you guys are working on next. I truly appreciate it, guys.
We do have a couple other books in the hopper. Andrew, you've got other books you've done as well. Tell people about them.
Yeah, so the what's coming up is a couple of journal books. So working through the Penguin Random House partnership, we're doing out in November the Dungeon Master and player workbooks. But basically, it's prompts. It's they're big thick books, but the amount of writing is very little because you're supposed to put it in yourself.
Ah.
And they're beautiful looking books that sort of fit alongside the other stuff that Wizards is putting out. So yeah, that was really fun to do. And also, right next to my head here, Puncheons and Flagons, the D&D cocktail book that I wrote.
Fantastic book.
Thank you so much.
Those
Sorry,
journals you were talking about, those are the ones that have I believe Venger and
Yes.
and Warduke on it, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't get to choose those, but I was really happy with what they chose.
they look so good. They'll be right here.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, they're gorgeous. You did such a great job. I mean, really,
Thank you.
top level stuff, man.
And then
Yeah,
Stacy-
it's so much fun to get to do all these different types of work in this world, honestly.
So, and then the next big D&D thing for me, which I'm super excited about, is late March next year, Dungeons and Dragons Crochet will be coming out, a book of many patterns.
Yes!
So I worked with 4 different crochet designers, all of whom have a background in doing tutorials and patterns and so on for the fandom, and got them to kind of collaborate with us on a list of 20 different design ideas, a mixture of kind of plushies, household items, and wearable stuff. So scarves, hats, gloves, all that kind of thing.
It looks really cool.
I think people are going to have a lot of fun with it. There's a couple of things in there that I pitched and I was like, there's no way they're going to go for this. And then they totally did, which was amazing.
I do love seeing a crocheted hand and eye of Vecna.
Love it.
I never thought I would ever see in my life. When I was a kid, because Stacy and I played through the Satanic Panic, I thought to myself, man, role-playing games are for everybody, and this stuff should be everywhere. And now we're in this world where the biggest video games, some of the biggest stories, some of the biggest celebrities in the world know the power of storytelling that comes from role-playing games. And so, yeah, it's a very, very different, wonderfully nerdy world that we live in. And I love to see stuff that now it's mainstream, that libraries and, educators, they believe in the power of it. They understand how it can unlock people's creativity. And we've got more, plans for young adventurers guides and related books down the line. The original plan for these was 3 books. So book 8, book 9, book 10 of a 3-book series. I could not be more proud of how it's going.
Well, you guys are, doing a great job. That crochet guide is actually, when I did a preview of the books that are coming up, our house sitter, she saw that on my screen, and she's a big crocheter. My wife is just getting into it, but Brittany's been doing it for a while. And she was like, wait, can you do a bag of holding? Are there granny squares? What's in this book? I'm like, I don't know. I've seen the cover and I have a little blurb and I'm real excited.
No, that book has got a crazy response. It was announced during Gen Con, and we had people come to our booth at Gen Con asking for it. We're like, no, it's just the announcement. It doesn't come out to the spring. And they were like, damn it, I need it right now. It was some of the most intense. It was wild.
In terms of the patterns, I think there's going to be a very, people are going to be hopefully happy with the mix of kind of stuff you would sort of expect, and also a few of those more like
wild
lore cut where you're like,
yeah.
Where did you come up with that one?
I love it.
Get a lot of fun putting together the list and debating about kind of what would be a good fit, what wouldn't. And I think we came up with stuff that people are going to find really fun, including some granny squares.
We've also got
it's a classic for a reason. They're so useful for so many things. And
Stacy and I also have the newest Stranger Things Dungeons and Dragons book. So it's called Tales from the Table, and it's essentially the notes that the kids are writing during their D&D campaign, pre-first season Stranger Things and during sort of first season. So it's really deep nostalgia for me, the kind of mapping and the little notes and the rules arguments and the character sheets and the NPCs for first edition D&D and all the Kit Bashy kind of homebrewy stuff we used to do back then. Our designer on that book's done a wonderful job of putting all the tape and the old notebook paper. The artist Donato, who has done official D&D artwork, he actually found his original scribbles and sketches from when he started playing D&D when
That's
he
awesome.
was like 10 years old, 11 years old, 12. And they purchased the art rights for it. So all the ballpoint pen sketches of demons and monsters and swords and weaponry are legit 80s old school binder sketch D&D, as legit as it gets. I was kind
Imagine
of
getting
shocked
paid
at
for it even
how
earlier.
much it felt like we had a shared youth when I'm looking through this stuff, because I wish I had all my old original sketches. But Donato stuff is going to be a real like time capsule for people who live through that stuff. And if you just love Stranger Things, I think you're going to get a lot out of it as well.
That's so exciting, man. I remember my buddy Cullen found one of his fiend folios from when he was
Yes.
a kid. We were over. He was putting a convention together near where he lives, and he writes some comics and stuff as well. A very talented guy. And we were flipping through his old fiend folio, and he had a lot of pen drawings
Yep.
of dragons and stuff that he had done. And we're just like, man, this was just the nostalgia that's there. Because
Is so deep.
oh man, I mean, I watched
Literally,
him.
when you name a specific mythological creature or a D&D creature, usually the first edition version of it is
Right.
what's tattooed in my brain, right? So a minotaur, there's that Sutherland drawing, or like you just sort of go through in my mind, Errol Otis and all the kind of old school D&D stuff. And then you get to Elmore and Easley and Caldwell, and like I'm obsessed with this stuff. I've got a crazy collection just off camera as well. So
I
this
love that,
stuff
man.
is like I said, the fact that we get to ignite people's creativity is it's really precious, and I know none of us take it for granted. So
And what's cool is you can find this book in the same place that they now sell like live, laugh, love posters, which is, which to me feels amazing. It feels like we survived and
yes,
we made it through the darker time. I mean, well, we made it through a dark timeline, and we're in a space now where at least we can think about, coming together at the table and rolling dice together and being part of this wonderful community. And you guys are, you're a force of good in it. So I know I'm
thank you so
grateful for
much.
you. And I really appreciate your time, guys. Thank you so much. I can't wait to talk again. November 4th, Warriors and Wizards Compendium. Make sure everybody picks it up. Thanks again. And we'll talk real soon, okay?
Sounds
Awesome.
great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.